Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Zuffa Promotions, or Zuffa Boxing, I think it's called, is a new promotional outfit, largely financed by Turki Alalshikh and run by UFC's Dana White and WWE President Nick Khan. And this is a new promotional body which is going to make a big push, try and make inroads into the market. And they have signed a broadcast deal with Paramount Plus, okay? And they're looking to stage 12 events a year on that particular streaming platform. So they're looking to make inroads probably into, DAZN and several other platforms. Streaming is the modern platform, as we know, no surprise there. Now there's been some controversy regarding Dana White and the controversial, I suppose you'd call it, Muhammad Ali Revival Act. Okay, and this is really good. They're looking to sort of severely reduce the safeguarding that was put in place by the original Ali Act, which was put forward by the late Senator John McCain, Republican. Now, the Ali Act originally required disclosure of contracts, payments, fees to fighters, and the machinations behind all the commissions. Then this was it was really regarding financial transparency, which had been anything but apparent prior to the Ali Act. So if you go back to the days, the best example I can think of, if you go back to the days of when Don King ruled boxing, Don King was the promoter, his son Carl King would be the fighter's manager. Presumably the son is not going to negotiate with the father. So it was kind of, you had the fighter by the short and curlies. And they were, in other words, they were going to take what they were given, or they weren't going to fight. So it was infringing on. I mean, America has a monopolies commission. They don't allow monopolies in America. They do in Britain, for example, which is why back in the 1980s I worked for De Beers Diamonds. Very briefly for about a year and a half, a hellish experience, horrendous group of shitty people I worked with, horrible job, just a bunch of cunts. They really were horrible people I worked for. But that is a monopoly. Diamonds is a monopoly. De Beers has a monopoly on diamonds, or it did, like nearly 40 years ago anyway. But in America, there is a monopolies commission, and the Ali Act was to stop people from sort of circumventing the idea of, it's not as if King had a monopoly on boxing, but he was the most powerful promoter for a long while, even more powerful than Bob Arum. Had mopped up all the heavyweights, and basically there was a very strong restraint of trade with Don King. I'm going back to the sort of 80s, 90s, early parts, first half of the 90s. Now we all know that Don King, none of his fighters really have much good to say about him because he fleeces all of them. But White is trying to sort of sugarcoat these proposed changes to the Ali Act. He's saying there'll be zero changes to the Muhammad Ali Act. Not one word will be changed. We're going to add onto it, so that guys that want to fight under the Muhammad Ali Act, exactly the way it is, will have the opportunity to do that. Or you can bet on me and fight with me under our version of the Muhammad Ali Act. That thing's been blown a lot out of proportion. And I get it. I knew people were going to freak out because that's what people do. The Muhammad Ali Act, this is still White talking, the Muhammad Ali Act was put in place with all good intentions, but I think that it's held the business back. Whose business, Dana? I mean, White ultimately wants to try to construct a business model, which is similar to UFC, whereby fighters are told you're fighting this person on this date at this weight and you're getting this amount of money. You don't like it, fuck off, okay? And there is White's actually expressed an interest in introducing a Zuffa Boxing title, okay? And that's going to sit alongside Alalshikh's Ring magazine belt. And they're trying to sort of marginalise the sport's 4 major sanctioning bodies, okay? But for the strategy to be as effective as he hopes, White would need the Reform Act to pass through, the Ali Reform Act to pass through Congress, okay? Because he'll need certain tools to do that, and they are tools that are prohibited. Business tools are prohibited under the current version of the Muhammad Ali Act. Okay, so this new Ali Revival Act, as they're calling it, strange name, curious name, as smacks of trying to be deliberately disingenuous to try and give it some sort of status or gravitas when it has none. But it was introduced in July, hasn't been passed yet. And one of its intents was to establish a unified boxing organisation, a UBO, and Zuffa Boxing was to represent one of those unified boxing organisations. Again, we're getting to the point where if you have too much power concentrated in one place, you're running the risk of the fighters losing the amount of power they have. You're running the risk of kind of like the cartel system that existed with Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astaire, Mike Barrett back in the late 60s, throughout the 70s. So this is all, this piece of legislation, proposed legislation, the Muhammad Ali Revival Act, this is the new one, they are due to vote on it before the end of the year. And Dana White has claimed, look, it doesn't matter whether it passes or not, it won't have any impact on the success of Zuffa Boxing. Well, it will, Dana, won't it? Because if it passes and it weakens the original Muhammad Ali Act from the point of view of fighters, you're going to be able to sort of whittle away more power for yourselves, and you won't be beholden by law to cover certain, shall we say, financial safeguarding for fighters. I don't like this at all. I don't like Dana White anyway. I've always thought the UFC model is horrendous. I wish he wasn't in boxing. I don't want him in boxing. But the fact that Alalshikh is funding Zuffa Boxing, for the most part funding it, is very, very disturbing, because I've never trusted Turki Alalshikh's, this idea that he was this great messiah of boxing and give the fans what they want, and all those. They were ultimately and undeniably, they were fantastic cards from a couple of years ago. You had the 5 versus 5 and your Matchroom versus Queensberry. You had those incredible stacked cards that were, reminiscent of some of Don King's cards back in the first half of the 90s. They were incredible cards, no doubt, but I never trusted Alalshikh at all, with good reason. If you look into his background, you'll see that he is a shady character, as are a lot of these sheikhs, Arabs, and it's just their society itself doesn't lend itself to it doesn't instill much faith in you that things are going to be done fairly and justly for everyone. Let's put it that way. So I don't know. What do you think? As usual, I'm going to ask you that question. Leave your comments below, and please, if you like this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. And yeah, I do want to hear your opinions on this. But read up on it. Read up. This is our sport. This is the future of our sport. So see what you think, and let me know what you think. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.